Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Sustainability Dilemma, the balancing act. Today is Mother's Day, as Google reminded me early in the morning. And what better way to start our conversation by saluting our Mother Earth? So while we have conquered space, Sunita Williams is back with Bruce Wilmore after 9 months, which is almost like an incubation period, back to Earth. What are the things which have been happening on Earth? Are we monitoring them? Are we doing something about them? I have these amazing guests here today with me who each one is a gem and an expert in their own field. And I'm going to introduce you to them right now. Good morning and welcome to the Sustainability Dilemma. Let me first acknowledge and say thank you so much for being here and for sharing your journey with me. We have another guest here who should be on right now. I think there could be a technical glitch. Please forgive us. Those are the natural things which happen. Let me start with the introduction. I'm going to invite Mr. Narayanan here. Thank you so much, Narayanan. You are the founder of Dr. Linen. And I know I've heard about Internet of Things, but for you, IoT means Internet of Towels, which is very, very interesting. And we want to know much more about it. Tiffany McGrath, thank you so much. I'm so grateful to you because the minute I texted you and messaged you and you just jumped at it and you said yes. And the commitment of time is so important. Thank you very much for that. You are the Sustainability Kiosk. You're a director of Sustainability Hospitality, actually. And I'm just waiting for Surinder to join us here as well. Yes, Surinder, I think, is having some challenges with his internet, but he is actually the person who I've known the longest, as I was just discussing before when we started the session. I'll wait for Surinder to come back because he doesn't seem to be here, and I'll give a proper introduction to him. Narayanan, I know that you have mentioned that you have an engineering background, and then, like I mentioned, you do Internet of Towels. Tell us a little bit more about your journey. How did engineering and towels, where did they cross the bridge? Tell me that, please.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, and it's my pleasure to be here in this forum today to share about how did I move from the engineering background to the hospitality industry, where we are, meeting the crossroads in terms of introducing the technology to the hospitality to make this, to make the sustainable elements get into the functions of the hospitality and save this Mother Earth. Now, I'm an electrical engineer by profession, and I used to work with the world's most admired company, GE, for many years. I moved to this country in 2005, so it has been 20 years. I've been in the city of Dubai, the wonderful place where we innovate things and we put into practice. So that's how we found a company called Rent a Towel in 2015 to bring in to bring in the concept of linen leasing and revolutionize the linen as a commodity which goes into the hospitality industry. How do we change the minds of the people to move from owning everything to a leased model where we take the responsibility of putting things together and give the guest in the hotels a clean, fresh, hygiene linen. And since we come from the engineering background, we thought of putting the RFID as an element into each of these linen that goes into the hospitality industry for the operational efficiencies, and also to estimate the life of the towels and sheets which we put into the hotel operation. So instead
So,
of so we built.
Narayanan, I'm going to interrupt you here because I want more in-depth information about the RFID and the process. But in the meantime, I'm going to quickly jump to Tiffany and ask her to please share her journey with me from hospitality, tourism, to being on the other side. I can actually say that you're all, or it's like being on the other side of the bridge or the team. How did that happen to you? Share a little bit about that with us before we delve deeper into what Narayanan was saying, and I'm hoping that Surinder will be back soon.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. Yes, so I've been in the hospitality industry in various aspects of the industry for over 25 years. So from not only working in hospitality, but from the IT aspect, from back of house, from also the tourism sector, and and the inbound operator business. So I found myself in Dubai recently, in the last 8 years or so. That's recently. And it's, as Narayan was saying, it's a wonderful place where innovation takes place. For me, the journey with sustainability started probably about 7 years ago, and marrying hospitality and sustainability when I was at a hotel up in Musandam, actually. And, you know, we forget how much waste is generated, how much repurposing can go on, how much education is needed, as well as, you know, looking at the hospitality industry and sustainability from a built environment perspective. So I made contact with a few ladies that we work with, so as part of Sustainability Kiosk, where we actually go into hotels now and we become their sustainability department on the ground. So we work with the teams, whether it's, you know, educating them, being there, holding their hand through initiatives, or actually tracking data. We also have a platform where we can help them source people that can assist with their sustainability journey. So it's been great to be able to make a difference on the ground to the hotels and provide actionable insights into how they can progress and how they can change, and what they can do on a daily basis, whether it be big or small, free.
Right. Thank you. I'm going to come back to that. The big and small, those are the things which are really important for us, especially when we are trying to do this balancing. And Narayan, my question for you is actually, we live in a place where new is what is accepted. So rent a towel, how did that concept actually work? And what kind of people were your target audience, or did they approach you? Was it pull? Was it push? What was a day at Rent a Towel look like? What did it look like?
Yeah, so we came up with this concept 10 years ago, where the hotels were struggling to buy the linen on on every now and then when it owns out after its designed life. So we thought we should take out that responsibility and give them a very simple solution where they will be charged based on the usage, and it also relieves the headache of maintaining the par stocks in the hotel operations. And the wash quality is to be maintained, so the laundry is always a challenge, whether it is the hotel having an in-house laundry or it is outsourced to an outsourced service provider. It's always a challenge. So we thought we should take out this the operation core, which is not core to their hotel operations. So we thought we will take out this and give them a simple vanilla solution of leasing the linen, and they get charged only for the usage of the linen. So it's directly proportional to the usage. So it is also a sustainable an initiative, I would say, because you're not putting everything into the washing every day. So you are conscious about using the linen, because you get charged based on the usage. So this was the idea in which we introduced to this. And we were trying to get into the minds of the hoteliers to move from the traditional approach to an innovative approach. And we did reasonably well in the beginning of the journey. But unfortunately, after the COVID got hit, then we had little downfall in terms of pushing this across the hotels. But now it's coming back again. And we are also trying to digitalize the whole journey so that the customer gets the proper information. And we are trying to close the loop by taking away, because we ourselves as a leasing company generate a lot of the end of life waste, which we will collect it and then turn it out into usable commodities by extending the life of the fibers, and thereby saving the planet and the environment we live in.
Thank you so much for that. It's unfortunate that Surendra's internet is playing hide and seek with us, but I'm hoping that soon he will be here, because though we can see him off screen, we're not able to view him as such. So please, my apologies. And all those who are watching now or who are going to watch this later, I want to say this to you. Please feel free to post comments out here. We need motivation. We need to understand what are the challenges which one is facing. And we need to know that, yes, we are all trying to resolve it at the same place. So please, even when the session gets over, continue to post your comments out here. And when you speak about linen, as many people might know or they won't know, Save Scrap and Sew is in the 10th year now. It was my baby, which came about from waste fabric scrap generated by tailors, and now it's called Planet Tomorrow. And one of the things which we have always focused on is the new fabric. And this is, I'm not talking about fashion ready made at all. I'm just speaking about which is generated from tailors. So, in our situation, we are a little restricted by the volunteers who are helping us create all this. Having said that, we've saved more than 12 and a half tons of fabric scrap, which is like really salute to all my buddies who have been there with me. However, coming to your point, where the premise that you're working on, Narayan, as well as Tiffany, the fact that there is a lot of linen in the hotels, which has to be, for whatever reasons, has to be removed from the scene of the
The
hotel. Because
operation.
when a person goes to the hotel, they expect something absolutely brilliant and bright and everything. So, at that particular point, what are your challenges, Tiffany? I would like to know from you. What have been your challenges in trying to prolong the life of those linen a little bit longer? Do you deal with these things? Do you advise
Yep.
people on that? Please tell me that.
Yep. Yep. So as you said, hotels, they do hold a lot of stock. So as Narayan said, there's a cost factor with the stock, the par levels. A lot of hotels now are built slightly differently to what they used to be. So there's not as much space for storage as there used to be, because they're perhaps apartment hotels, or they were built or designed as apartments and now are in hotels. So storage is an issue. Cost, of course, is an issue to hold those par stocks. And certainly there's the guest expectation of the quality of linen. So what Dr. Narayan has is a fantastic solution. Also, a lot of properties do have reuse facilities in-house, but once again, with a slimming down of staff, we don't have tailors in a lot of hotels that like we used to. So where they used to repurpose items or fix things, they can't do that or don't do that as much as they used to. So we need a solution to move these things out. So having someone that takes linen and repurposes it into fibers is a fantastic opportunity for hotels to move out their discarded linen, put it into a process where it can actually have a circular approach and be reused, and know that the product at the end is made from repurposed items. So it is an amazing work for hotels, and especially here in Dubai, to have this facility in an ecosystem. Obviously, hotels will use items in-house when they can. They perhaps make pillowcases for cots or smaller sheets. They would repurpose sheets in-house for engineering, but that will ultimately always end up in landfill at the end of the day as well, because it is far too damaged. So by repurposing it into something like Narayan is offering is a great offering for the industry, and very well worthwhile for hotels.
Perfect. And this is a great time. We have Surinder here, and he's on stage with us. Surinder, can you hear us? Surinder? No, I think, yeah. Can you hear us, Surinder? Hi.
Hi. Yes, I can. I can.
Yes,
Sorry, there's
fantastic.
a technical glitch, I believe.
Yeah, I know. And that's technology. So while it works in our favor that you're not in Dubai, but we are able to speak to you, it also sometimes we do have these. And it's my honor, privilege to introduce Surinder Balakrishnan, co-founder, editorial director, CPI Industry. And I know him more as an editor of Climate Control Middle East magazine. And yes, before this, if you saw me looking at my mobile down here, there, that is because I was searching for how to communicate with Surinder to get him back. I have Surinder. I have to thank him for many things, but today I'm just going to thank him for being here. Surinder, we've just been having this conversation, and as you know Narayan, and you've also recently met Tiffany online. I would like to, for you to please go ahead and share a little bit of your journey and what is your why actually.
Right. So, as you already introduced me, I'm the editor of Climate Control Middle East magazine and the co-founder and editorial director of CPI Industry, which is a mother company. And what we really do is to look at the HVACR industry. So that's the heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration industry from a sustainability perspective, and also from a socio-economic development perspective. And the objective of the magazine is to update readers relating to policy, technology, business, finance of air conditioning industry or the HVACR industry.
So I think we are having some. We can't see Surinder. Are you able to see him? Tiffany? Yeah, Narayan, yeah, correct. We can't.
No, I think
We're not able to hear
Sadly,
you.
he's frozen.
Yes, we're not able to hear. So I'll just go back to this layout and I will wait. Narayan, my question to you is actually recently I was talking to a bunch of youngsters, Gen Zs, as we call them, and there was a concept of renting your wardrobe. There's a company called Rent Your Wardrobe, which gives, and they were like, no, we'll buy a cheaper one from I don't want to name anybody, but we'll buy a cheaper one which is available for 5 dirhams, 10 dirhams, but we are not going to rent. So then how do you convince people of this mindset that, renting, now your business has shifted. I understand that. But how do you convince people? What do you think we should be telling them? Especially they are the ones whose earth is affected. What should we be telling them? What do you think about this? And this is for, I would like to have Narayan's opinion, and then I would like to have Tiffany also comment on this, please.
Yeah. So initially, it was a tough task of convincing the hoteliers, because they never used, unlike in the western part of the world, here in the Middle East. So it was always their own linen and their own specs and all of that, because the standardization for any international brand or a local brand, the standardization of the linen specs hasn't gone much into the operations. So having said this, it was always a challenge. But when we introduced to the concept of renting linen to the industry, so we chose to be to standardize the specs, which is the highest, and it can fit into any kind of category, whether it's a 5-star or a 4-star or a 3-star. So we chose the linen to be of the highest quality, and yeah, the all the brands will get the same kind of treatment, because we have worn the linen, and so we are making sure that the linen is handled properly, washed properly, the chemicals that we use, so that the maximum life cycle is established when we go and give it off to any customer. So we had a challenge in the beginning, but of late, we could maneuver that, and make the world accept that this is the model that we need to move on. And now, so the industry is moving towards the new way of handling things, where you are able to save water, energy, chemicals, reducing the carbon dioxide emissions that comes out of the processes, etc. So people will move towards this model very soon, and that's the reason why, in order for us to do a little shift from where we are, to close the loop by making them understand that even though they buy their own set of linen and operate by themselves, so at the end of its life, we are going to collect it and then give them a new set of linen, so with which we are able to make them understand and save the energy, water, chemicals, etc., that is needed for this planet.
So I was just texting Surinder, since he's having problems. I was just recommending to him that maybe he wants to join through the live, which is happening on LinkedIn and YouTube. He could join from there and post his comments, and we could still have his feedback. But I don't know if he's able to do that. And of course, he has such a vast expanse of topics and experience that maybe we need to have a separate session with him, and this could be the cue actually for that. Tiffany, in your premise of work, this renting, reusing, pre-owned, pre-loved, does it get defined somewhere? Does it actually appeal to the audience? And especially when we are looking at Gen Z, Gen Alpha, what is your experience?
It does present, the leasing does present its own issues. From a brand standard perspective, a lot of hotels do have their own brand standards. But as Narayan said, provided that the product is of quality and sits those standards, then there's not an issue with it. Once again, it comes down to, I guess, cash flow costs, all of those sorts of things. But it certainly does have merit for all of, you know, space and etc. They're not holding stock. You know, somebody else takes care of that. And as the hospitality industry moves to less running things themselves, so you see a lot more outsourcing. So outsourcing of catering, outsourcing of housekeeping services, and now outsourcing of linens. In some instances, it makes a lot of sense, whereby they know that there is quality control. They know that the product is good. It's sort of one less headache, especially for the non-full service hospitality operations. You know, so they just want to get it in, make their beds, and get it out. So, you know, that sort of solution does make a lot of sense for those type of operators. There are challenges, of course, with those operators that do have their own stocks. You know, Dubai is a great place where we do have, you know, quality, we do have standards, we do have a lot of regulation in our hospitality industry, in our hospitality market. So by ensuring that everything is laundered correctly, we have, you know, the laundry facilities themselves have very high standards that they have to apply to, and in sorts of sustainability standards too. You know, the latest machines they have to use, they, you know, reduced water, as you said, and the government requirements to ensure that, you know, linen reuse programs are in place within the hotels. You know, that makes a big difference. I think a lot of people in the hospitality industry and guests previously associated linen reuse programs as a cost-cutting measure for hotels, but it's not. It really comes down to how much water can we save, how much energy can we save. I think guests perhaps don't realise that by not washing linen every day, or not, you know, changing linen in hotels every day, we are saving a lot in energy, water and chemicals that go into laundering these items. So, you know, now we see a lot more of that, and we do have government regulations here whereby hotels must have linen reuse programs in place where they don't change the linen every day. And it isn't just a cost-cutting measure, you know, it is to save water. When you're talking about hundreds of kilos of linen monthly in large properties, this adds up, you know, to a huge amount. So it really, really makes a big difference.
I'm just going to address. I'm going to address this comment. Pujita, lovely to hear the amazing initiative to put linen waste back into the loop. And Pujita is. Thank you so much for being here. She is also involved in the flowers which go waste after once they dry up, or before the bouquets and stuff like that, floral arrangements which are done at parties and things. She goes back and she's got an initiative which she's working on with somebody else, and the others, and I'm hoping that she'll be my guest sometime soon. Yes. And yes, so now, last semester, I had an opportunity to teach a corporate social responsibility initiative paper. And in that, we came across a lot of auditing, and you know how still we are at a very self-auditing stage. It's not compulsory yet. What do you think will make really an impact to the end customer? And as I say this, it used to be a societal marketing concept, then it became sustainable societal. I want to help those organizations which are helping the society. Right? But how do I go about it? How can I verify that they are genuine and there's not some greenwashing happening? How can we know that? What kind of systems, policies do you think can be when can come into place, and what are already in place? Tiffany, you mentioned something about the laundry and the linen. What else can we do? And Narayanan, can we start with you, and then I'll come back to Tiffany. And we are really missing Surinder, because I would love to have discussed with him about the food waste, but I'll come back to that. Yeah, please, Narayanan.
Yeah. See, I'm a little skeptical about this topic because people talk about the corporate social responsibility as a chapter in their organization, or as a part of the DNA within the organization, and so on. But if you get deeper into that and see how the process works, for example, I'll take my own example of the textile waste or the uniforms that gets generated. Let's take an example of a school which collects the old uniforms, and where does it go? But ultimately, there is no proper control in the whole journey as to see whether it is ending into the landfill after further X number of uses. But if you are able to bring in a process to make sure that, see, our objective of 360V, which we have launched a couple of years ago, is to control that. We do not want anything to get into the landfill either by means of the CSR route or through something else. Ultimately it ends into the landfill. We do not have any controls on it. So our purpose of 360V is to stop that, and we come in between to make sure that we collect these things, we properly turn it out into a fresh product by itself, and then we pass it on to the CSR companies like, Red Cross Society, or whoever is coming in the front in terms of, supporting the third world war countries, etc. So we wanted to put in a control where, we become the champion in terms of collecting it and then turning it in as a fresh, product which can be given to the society for its use. So this is my take on the CSR initiatives that people run.
So, Tiffany, what would you like to add about the auditing part of it, the self-auditing or the compulsory auditing? What would you like to add? Especially, I know, and maybe you can share a little bit about what your regular day looks like when you are going from place to place, hotel or other stakeholders. Maybe you could share a little bit about that with us.
There are processes in place. In Dubai, I think one of the great things that have been initiated in Dubai is from Dubai Economic Tourism, so DET, the 19 Sustainable Guidelines. This is a guideline that ensures all hotels must comply with guidelines issued by the government, and it crosses most of the sustainability standards. Now, if any property only does that, they are still on a very good path for sustainability reduction, CSR events, tracking their waste. If you can go over and above that and have your own audit processes, have additional certifications perhaps, and contribute to additional items or initiatives that are in place and part of our ecosystem here in Dubai, then that's fantastic. So as part of these auditing processes, they have recommendations on CSR, they have energy, water, waste reductions strategies, plus suggestions for in-room, whether it be linen-based, whether it be recycling, whether it be bulk amenities. All of these items are designed to reduce waste, reduce consumption, and put hotels and Dubai on a journey towards decarbonisation and to achieve the UAE 2030 and 2050 goals. This comes back to energy, the D41 waste, and all of this. So we see a lot of this in our hotels and our partners that we work with, whether they're going for additional certifications. So hotels can participate in Green Key certifications, which is a certification specific for hotels. Yes, we go through a checklist. Yes, they do have to adhere to certain standards and guidelines, and these are checked and followed up. Obviously, the requirements from DET, they are checked, they are followed up. The municipality does check hotels, they are audited annually several times, as well as participating in the Dubai Tourism Sustainability Stamp process, which is an annual event that has started in the last 2 years. So, and they do have auditors that come to the hotel and check that things are happening. And back to Narayan's point, though, we are more aware now about the process and chain of what happens to items. So it's making people aware and hotels aware that if you are going to discard something, whether it's through any recycling partner, make sure that you understand the process of what happens to these items. You don't want to give linen, slippers, clothes, for example, to a chain or a charity without knowing or understanding what happens to it. We don't want things that are sent overseas, because then it might end up in other countries where they can't process it, and then that creates their own problem in those countries. Once again, coming back to the UAE, there are processes in place, whereas those that are charities and or recycling partners, they too are held to high standards. So there is some confidence in the market here that those people that we partner with do actually do the right thing. So it's making sure that the partnerships you form are the correct ones. And there are certainly people here that can take almost anything that a hotel produces. So it's a matter of finding those partnerships in a place where that is possible.
Thank you so very much. And we do have Surinder back here with us. And I'm sorry, Surinder, that it just doesn't seem to be a day. Uh, could you tell us a little bit? And I want to know, because you deal with air conditioning, and there's a lot of information which comes about what temperature you should keep, but what is good for the environment. And I remember when I came into this country 35 years ago, my brother asking me and saying, do the poor people also have ACs? And I remember saying that we are the poor people at that time. So, and now it's everybody has ACs, and it's not only here, everywhere in the world with the temperature increase in the Europe, Americas, everybody has ACs become like how refrigerators came into our life. There was a life before that. Tell us a little bit about that, Surinder. What can we do, and what is it which makes your pulse go up and say that, you know what, we can do this and let's do this. Could you share a little bit about that with us, please?
Sure. Look, I mean, if you're looking at a typical air conditioning setting, from a thermostat point of view, the industry recommendation is that you need to keep it at 24 degrees centigrade in order to find the right balance between thermal comfort and also energy efficiency. So it's about sustainable cooling. And you're right. I mean, the Middle East, what we are seeing is that temperatures are rising twice as fast as the global average. And as the mercury source, they're streaming on air conditioning systems has intensified. And this has in turn led to an increase in energy consumption. And that's affecting the planet in terms of global warming. So what it's doing is that it's creating a feedback loop. So more energy consumption, which contributes to climate change, which in turn leads to rising temperatures, and that in turn leads to more demand for cooling. So that's something that we need to address. We need to look at sustainable cooling approaches so we don't make or put as much of a burden on the energy grid or the infrastructure in a country. And the lesser is the consumption of fossil fuel, that's going to mitigate climate change. So it's really about it's all in our hands. It's about every individual. Every individual can make a contribution. Consultant, contractor, equipment manufacturer or supplier, and of course the people who run and operate a building, the facility management people. So there's a role for everyone in this entire chain.
So my question to you is, I know we are 33 minutes into this conversation, and I promised you people 25 to 30 minutes. Please just bear with me, because we have Surinder here. Surinder, so at home I can do this 24 degrees but what happens in the malls and all these public areas where the temperature is freezing? I mean, to go to a mall or a cinema theater, you need to actually carry a shawl or a stole any time of the year. What about that? Where does the control come in there then? So I think
Since you
again,
don't have,
Surinder's net is, yes,
yeah,
exactly.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm
Look,
so sorry about this. Yes.
that's all right.
So yes,
I
let's
can answer that from a hotel
yeah,
perspective if you like.
please do that,
Yeah.
please. Yes.
So, I mean, not so much from malls. They obviously have their systems similar, but in the hospitality industry, as Surinder was saying, the built environment and the operation of the building and the building efficiency is very important. Decarbonising the built environment is one of the most important ways that we're going to achieve reductions. And so, once again, as he said, because of where we live, our energy costs are higher than anywhere else in the world, and so is our energy use. So in buildings and in the hotel industry, there are some things that we can do, and all buildings should do, that can ensure efficiency. So one of those things is in making sure that we have BMS systems, so building management systems, that actually allow the engineers to control and run their buildings correctly. And in guest rooms, often we will have GRMS systems, so guest room management systems. So this is where traditionally we go to a hotel and lights on and off. But as technology has changed, we have even more sophisticated methods of doing this now. So whether it's occupancy sensors in the rooms, they can sense if a guest is asleep, if they're there, if they're out of the room, even though everyone carries 2 key cards and puts it in the slot or not, it removes that these days. So engineering departments will usually have set points that they manage those rooms at. So for example, the 24 degrees that Surendra was talking about, these are sometimes controlled or overridden by guests, but these systems will then reset them when the guest has checked out and or in the middle of the night, when doors are open and closed. So, as a traveller and as a guest, we do need to understand that the impact that you have on in a room multiplies by how large these buildings are. And if you can travel more sustainably and keep those air temperatures at 23, 24, you are inadvertently saving in that. So, there's a lot we can do. The energy efficiencies in the HVAC systems, to keep them efficient, making sure that they're clean, making sure that it's new technology, all of that sort of thing is what hotels do to make sure that they're running more efficiently, because the cost, not only in terms of emissions, but in terms of monetary costs, is second only to labour in hotels. So it's massive, and certainly here in the UAE when we're so hot, so it's very, very important.
True.
Thank you so very much for that, and thank you for your time today. And quickly, any last words that you want to share with the audience before we end the session today, Narayanan?
Yes. So adding to the point of Tiffany's the perception on the decarbonization. So in our program of 360, we wanted to have this transparency between the on the one side the hotel industry, which releases the textile waste to us, and they can see. So we are building a platform like Internet of Towels. We are decarbonized platform that will have a transparency to see how the waste has moved from A to B and how has it converted in the whole process. So the customer on one side can see the whole journey, so that we make sure that nothing is going into the landfill, and it is all repurposed for which it is collected from one source.
Right. Tiffany,
Yes.
very quickly, any last words from your side? Anything that you want to say?
As a guest, travel with purpose, I think, is very important. Making sure you understand what you do as a guest and you travel has an impact. And as an operator, please think outside the square. There is a lot of solutions out there. And sometimes, we do often hear that it is money, 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 but also look at it slightly differently, to think that if I invest in efficiency, I will actually decrease my costs, but also do well for the planet by having those efficiencies. So please don't always just look at the bottom line of things and how much things cost, because when we're talking about large hotels, we're talking about business, we're talking about boilers, heats, yes, it is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, but ultimately you are doing good. There is the moral imperative, but it also will help your bottom line at the end of it as well. So think outside the square and keep those efficiencies up. And I think together as an industry, we will get there, because it's important that we do.
So this just brings me to the last part, of which I usually say, Tiffany, you just led me to say this again: whose earth is it anyway? And since we own it, we owe it. And I'm going to thank you very much for joining me here, spending your precious time, your expertise, your knowledge with the audience. And the sustainability dilemma continues, and we are trying to continue to find a balance. I hope to have more interactions with you, more conversations, and try to see the small change which we can make so that there is a bigger impact. Thank you very much. And Surendra, we missed you, and we'll come back to you again. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
You.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.